Imagine waking before sunrise, your breath freezing in the dark, knowing that everything you grow this year, every stalk of wheat, every potato pulled from frozen soil, belongs to a man you will never meet. This is Russia, centuries ago, under the rule of the Tsars, a land of golden domes and frozen rivers, of glittering palaces and starving villages. While emperors dined on imported wine in halls of gold, millions of peasants lived a life so harsh, so bound by chains few could see, that historians still argue over whether it was truly different from slavery at all. Tonight, we step past the palace gates and into the wooden huts, the muddy fields, the world of the Russian serf. This is what survival looked like when your body, your labor, and sometimes your very family belonged to someone else. Picture a cluster of low wooden houses, dark with soot, huddled together against an endless white horizon. Smoke curls from crooked chimneys. Chickens scratch at frozen mud. This is a Russian village, home to perhaps 200 souls, and for most of them, this cluster of huts is the entire known world. They will never see a city. They will never own the land beneath their feet. That land, and every person living on it, belongs to a nobleman, a landowner appointed by the grace of the Tsar himself. The peasants call him Baron. He may live in the village. He may live 1,000 miles away in Petersburg, sipping French coffee, never once setting eyes on the people who feed him. By law, these peasants cannot leave, cannot marry without permission, cannot even sell their own grain without the landowner's blessing. This is serfdom, and by the 1700s, it has become so entrenched that a nobleman can trade a family of serfs the way another man might trade horses or hunting dogs. A father might work 40 acres his whole life and die without ever holding a piece of paper that says the land is his. His son inherits nothing but the same obligation, the same debt, the same invisible chain. And yet within this suffocating system, something remarkable persists. Community, faith, song. In the evenings, when the fields are finally still, voices rise in the dark, old melodies passed down through generations, a reminder that even bound bodies can carry free hearts. Winter in Russia is not simply a season. It is an adversary. Temperatures plunge far below freezing, and the wooden huts, called izbas, become both shelter and prison. Entire families sleep together atop the brick oven, the only source of warmth, alongside chickens and sometimes a newborn calf brought inside to survive the cold. Food stores must last through months of frozen earth. A poor harvest does not simply mean hunger, it means death, spreading through a village like a shadow no one can outrun. Yet even here, in the grip of the harshest season on the continent, peasants find ways to endure, sharing what little they have. Because in a world this unforgiving, survival is rarely a solitary act. Now picture a different scene entirely. A grand estate, its windows glowing gold against the night. Inside, a nobleman hosts a ball, violins playing, silk gowns sweeping across polished floors. This is the other Russia, the one history often remembers first. The wealth on display here is staggering, and almost all of it flows directly from the labor of serfs who will never see the inside of such a room. Some landowners are cruel, punishing peasants for the smallest offense. Others see themselves as benevolent guardians, convinced their serfs are better off dependent on them. But whether cruel or kind, the system itself remains the same. One class owns, another class obeys. And the Tsar, high above them all, holds the power to change everything, or nothing at all. By the 1800s, cracks begin to show. Peasant uprisings flare across the empire, brutal and desperate, only to be crushed by imperial troops. Educated Russians, having traveled to Paris and London, return home horrified by what they see. An empire still shackled to a medieval institution, while the rest of Europe moves forward. Whispers of reform reach even the ears of the Tsar himself. Could an empire built on bound labor survive in a modern world? The question grows louder with every failed harvest, every uprising, every year that passes. Then, in 1861, it happens. Tsar Alexander II signs the Emancipation Manifesto, freeing over 20 million serfs in a single stroke. Bells ring across the countryside. For the first time in generations, peasants are told they are no longer property. But freedom, it turns out, comes with its own cruelty. Many former serfs must pay for the very land they have farmed their whole lives, trapped in a new kind of debt that will haunt Russian villages for decades to come. The chains have changed shape, but for many, they have not disappeared. And yet, despite the cold, the hunger, the centuries of bondage, the Russian peasant endured. Their songs became Russia's songs. Their faith shaped a nation's soul. Their quiet resilience, generation after generation, laid the foundation for everything that would come after. Revolutions, empires, a modern nation forged in fire. History rarely remembers the ones who worked the soil in silence. But without them, there would